the world's 11th largest economy, ranking 15th out of 140 countries in global competitiveness and first in macroeconomic stability. The Chamber is here in Seoul, the thriving capital city of Korea, to offer comprehensive coverage of the Korean and global economies. I'm your host, Panita Bajaj. This week on the program, we are going to learn more about Korea's economic market from a non-Korean point of view with our panelist, Todd Sample, and special guest, David-Pierre Jalicon, Chairman of the French-Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So for those of you interested in Korea's economy and what goes on around the world, we are here in Seoul, the economic hub of Northeast Asia. So let's get to it and step into the chamber.
While in Paris, President Moon Jae-in is expected to strengthen bilateral economic cooperation.
Welcome to the Chamber. We have Todd Sample here with us, as well as our special guest, Chairman David-Pierre Jalicon, if I'm saying that right, French-Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry, otherwise known as FKCCI. Thank you very much for being on the show with us.
Welcome.
Now, we do know that Korea and France have had this long-term relationship, just celebrating their 130th anniversary of economic diplomatic ties back in 2016. And of course, their relationship has evolved. Economic cooperation has developed over the years, and I guess it's safe to say that the Chamber has also evolved in its role. So can you start by sharing with our viewers the brief history of FKCCI?
We can identify 4 steps in the French presence in Korea. The first one was related to infrastructure from 1950 up to 1980. There was merely 20 companies at that time, and mainly involved in rebuilding the country. I think what is interesting in those steps is to see how the French presence has evolved depending the needs of Korea. We are here to provide something that Korea is looking for. So the second step in this regard was linked to the openness of the country in the 80s, and I think it started in 1980 up to 1997. And this is where French companies have started to develop the consumption goods in Korea. This is probably the first time French luxury goods have landed in Korea and more. And it was a big jump. We probably at that time there was 120 French companies around the country, and then big financial crisis did happen in 1997, and this has opened a new era of French investment in Korea. There has been many merger and acquisition at that time, so there has been opportunity to purchase some Korean companies. So that's why big French group did land and did invest in Korea and have localized production unit in Korea. That's the case of Renault with Renault Samsung Motor. That's the case of Total in the field of energy. So it has a little bit changed the landscape of French company in Korea. And this phase lasts up to 2008, where there has been another financial crisis. And from that time, there was around 200 French companies. And the last step in in which we are still, I think, did start with FTA between Europe and Korea. There's two phenomena, let's say. The first one, we see Korea as a partner. Mm-hmm. So I think it has opened many opportunities in terms of partnership. And the second aspect, we have seen a new type of French company coming to Korea, probably more SMEs or entrepreneurs. And this next generation of French company in Korea had a big impact in terms of member for us, because we did jump from 2011 up to today from 200 to 350.
Wow.
So basically, the main goal of a Chamber of Commerce is to interconnect two business communities, the French business community and the Korean community. And based on this interconnection, is to develop as much as we can exchange and trade. I will say for our chamber, maybe we have four motto. The first one is to be very reactive. The Korean market is changing a lot. There's many trends in Korea. The Korean people are very demanding. And it's our duty to identify new trend, new sector where French company can provide something. And so we should monitor very carefully the Korean market and call French company when we think there's an opportunity. Second thing is visibility. Visibility is very important in Korea, and some of our members, small companies, have difficulties to be visible.
Seeing what is available.
Yes, or to make aware the Korean market that they exist.
Okay.
Many SMEs or entrepreneurs, they don't have a marketing team. They don't have resource to buy ads in the street. So through for example, our communication platform in the chamber or through our event, this company can be visible. Third point is to build this network. It's really to organize events, to organize seminars, to organize forum, to organize as well some kind of casual meeting, which is very important. Human relationships are very important in business. So that's our duty to make our community a living place. We have to do some advocacy service as well for our members and to help them in terms of mediation whenever they have difficulties here. And but I say it's part of when your business community start to expand. You can expect many good things, but you can expect as well some difficulties and challenges. So. Voilà, so that's really our main goal. And I have to say we had this goal one after one, thanks to the resource and the good team of the chamber, which are now fully operational.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to the Korean and French trade, I mean, it's quite exponential.
Yes, right. So as the growth in the relationships have built and more French companies have discovered the Korean market and decided to establish something here, of course the level of bilateral trade has also gone up. So if we look at numbers from early 2008, trade volume stands at a little over $4 billion, which is a 19% year-on-year increase over 2007. So that's something to be very proud of. And obviously, not just the relationship, but of course the FKCCI's role in developing these relationships is growing more and more.
Well, if we go back to the Korea-EU FTA that we briefly mentioned, it's been provisionally applied since 2011. So that must have brought more French companies into the Korean market. Can we see which sectors in specific we see the most active expansion of French companies?
Indeed, it did have a very, very strong impact, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of new type of company coming to Korea. They simply did not know the Korean market before. I will not directly answer to your question in terms of sector. I will say all sector, because what is looking Korea is for a company who can provide innovative and original solution, whatever the sector. Korean people are very curious. Whenever you have something to provide that is new, they are looking at it, whatever the sector. So that's why if you visit our business center, you will find every type of company in every kind of sector. And for companies who are already there, for example, like myself, it's very important to renew yourself, to be always able to propose something new to the current market. That's the key of the success.
So as you were talking about, that is the strong ties, the strong trade ties between France and Korea with these so many various types of companies coming in from aerospace to cosmetics. And I think you're very much part of it now, and we are seated in your office with wonderful architectural models behind us as well. Can you talk to us a little about your company and how it got started, a little bit of your history as well?
Sure. I'm coming from a different culture, and having been here a long time, and I have studied a lot Asian philosophy, for example. I know very well Pungsu Chiri, which is the Feng Shui, let's say. And I am mixing this kind of local approach with my inherited culture. And that's why my design is different. And this is what I am selling. So people who are looking for something different might call it. So that's why we have three fields of expertise. We are designing building, but we are designing as well interior. We are designing as well engineering project. I've designed some footbridge, which are well known in Seoul. So what is important is to develop your own characteristic specific.
Right.
I think now the current market is looking for that diversity.
Sure. Yeah, I think, as you said, selling yourself is the most important thing. And Todd, you're an epitome of that as well. I mean, you've been here for 20 years as well, doing the same thing.
I think we've been here. Yeah, we're the same age, and we've been here for almost for the same amount of time. So, yeah, our history in Korea is quite similar.
Absolutely.
And I think that, you mentioned before a little bit about how the Chamber is trying to develop relationships between not just French companies and Korean companies, but also government organizations as well. And now that you've seen a shift in the kind of companies that are coming here, where now they're smaller SMEs and even startups are coming here now. So you mentioned some of the objectives of the FKCCI, but how are you trying to achieve those objectives?
And I think the most important, we have developed it recently with the help of the French embassy and the French ambassador in particular, a policy of interconnected all member with local authorities. I think it's very important. So that's why we have signed an MOU with Daegu, with Daejeon, with the mayor of Incheon, because sometimes we forget that apart Seoul, there's as well the rest of the country. And France is a very strong player in terms of decentralization. And we do believe that it's very interesting that the French investor, actual investor or future investor, will be well integrated in their local environment. So, for example, many French companies, for example, have factories in Daegu. We thought it's very important that they know the mayor, that they know the local authorities, because on the daily life, when they have an issue, they are the one who can help us. So that's why we have developed for 130th anniversary this big project, which was to design a platform of geolocalization of the French presence in Korea. So it's like a Google map, and you have on the current map all the many French flags wherever there's something French on the territory. And whenever I visit a mayor countryside along with the French ambassador, we show them this map, we play, and you can click on the flag and you have information about this factory, this research center. And for the mayor, suddenly, economy becomes reality. And it becomes human. I think economies, we speak number, macroeconomic number, okay, that's important, but at the end, business is done for and by human. And I think it's very important. This human touch is probably the characteristic of our chamber. We really cherish the human value in business.
Right.
And I'm sure the local authorities also appreciate that very much, because someone's paying attention to them, and this is something that not every country does. So it's really
and I think it's part
street.
of the balance as well of the current territory and economy.
Yeah.
And we should recognize that.
Getting to know local neighbors is basic business
I think
etiquette.
we are all doing that in our own
Absolutely,
life.
that's right. Well,
When you move to somewhere, you try to know your neighbor.
exactly. Bring in a pie, say welcome to the neighborhood, and thus a friendship is born. It'll last 130 years. Well, today we're talking about the FKCCI and its role, so let's take a further look into the depth of how this body works.
This is the French-Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Gangnam-gu, Seoul. Founded in 1986, the FKCCI has been promoting economic exchanges between the two nations and also supporting French companies in Korea and Korean companies in France.
한불상공회의소는 약 31년 전에 국내에 설립이 되었고요. 저희는 이제 한국과 프랑스 양국의 그 무역 그리고 투자 증진을 돕기 위한 그런 그 브릿지 역할을 하고 있습니다. 한불 커뮤니티 그 기업인들을 위한 네트워킹 행사를 보통 기획을 하고 있습니다. 가장 이제 큰 규모의 행사는 7월 중순에 하는 바스티유 데이 프랑스 혁명기념일 행사가 있고요. 거기는 보통 400명 정도 참석하시고 그리고 연말 저희가 12월 첫 번째 토요일에 기획하는 그 갈라 디너 행사에는 약 그 한불 커뮤니티 기업인들이 850명 정도가 참석하는 그 행사를 저희가 하고 있습니다. 지금 한 약 7년 전에 그 저희가 비즈니스 그 센터 사업을 시작을 했고요. 프랑스 이제 중소기업들이 한국에 진출을 했을 때 보통 초창기 때는 그분들이 사실 인적 네트워크도 없으시고 그리고 한국에 대한 정확한 이제 그런 그 뭔가 정보를 충분히 가지고 있지 않으시기 때문에 국내에서 사업을 하시는데 도움이 될 만한 그런 이제 다양한 정보들을 초창기 때 저희가 적극적으로 지원을 해드리기 위해서 그 사실 설립을 했습니다.
The FKCCI founded its own business center in 2012 and has been actively supporting French companies in Korea, even offering them workspaces.
I am Gilles Genot. I work in POMA since 40 years. POMA is a French company specialized in the transportation, cable transportation system in the ski resort or tourism. FKCCA brings us a lot of support for our work and also for the other necessity of our presence in Korea.
From economy and culture to lifestyle, the French-Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry brings Korea and France closer together. We look forward to the results to come from its devotion to a bright future for the two nations.
Well, learning about the FKCCI and its role, I mean, you guys have right around 350 members. How do you think they feel? Do you think they're generally happy about the way that their business is going in the Korean market? Do you think that there are certain strengths that they certainly love and take advantage and certain disadvantages where they see this needs some work?
Yeah. Generally, they are quite satisfied. They are quite satisfied in terms of investment. I think, generally speaking, Korea is a very good place to work. Environment is quite good in terms of human resource. People are highly qualified. The infrastructure are very great. The transportation infrastructure, when you arrived in Incheon, it really gives a very good image of the country. After the digital infrastructure, of course, are very good. I think another strong point as well, and we advocate for that a lot, is once you are localized in Korea, you can benefit from all the FTA signed by Korea with other countries. So when you establish your company in Korea and you produce in Korea, you can get benefit of the FTA between Korea and China, even though you are a French company.
There is still a need to develop well-planned investment strategies for areas with still great growth potential. What kind of efforts do you think the FKCCI are making towards that end?
Yeah, so actually I was part of the delegation when President Moon did visit France in October, and I have to say, I participate in the Startup Summit, where 7 Korean startups and 7 French startups did a pitch to introduce their idea. And I have to say, I've never seen so vibrant the desire of cooperation. These young people with fresh ideas were really mitigating each other. They are really discussing each other. I have said as well that now the Korean system is well organized. I have to say that all the French organizations have counterpart, so we can discuss equally. And I think that's a good base to really strong cooperation, that people are speaking the same language, and everything was here to really develop the idea together. As you mentioned, there is a cooperation really between the two states in the field of innovation. So, for example, there's a MOU between the Public French Investment Bank, the BPI, and the KAIAT, the Korean Institute for Advanced Technology, in order to foster every year some startup company mixing a French player and a Korean player developing common ideas. So every year 3 or 4 projects are selected to be financed by those organizations. So this is where, again, we are not talking about numbers or about vague cooperation or political cooperation. This is very practical. There's really, at the end of this program, there is a new idea coming directly to the market and to the benefits of the people. I'm very glad, because this is very, very practical achievement. We can say, okay, that's the French-Korean product, or that's the French-Korean service. So I think that's really the best example of cooperation we can give when you have a practical achievement.
Right. The seeds are planted, obviously.
Sure. Well, in short, how is the FKCC planning to help French companies in the fields you've just mentioned expand into the Korean market?
Yeah, so this is very, very important to be ready to this next level of development. We are very positive, because when we look at the general picture, we see more French people in Korea. We see thousands of French students in Korean university. When I arrived in Korea, there was probably
not a lot. There were just over 400,000 foreigners living here.
There was no
students.
There was no student. So now some of these students will settle down in Korea, for sure. It will happen. Or even though they go back in France, they will keep something in their mind from Korea, and I'm sure they will have the desire after to build relationship between the two countries, because Korea is a very touching country. I used to say I grew up in Korea at the same time as the country, and that's interesting to be part of this motion, and I think it's quite an experience. And what I think today, France and Korea are in the same group of middle power economic country. I think and I think we should develop our connection at a higher level in order to compete with unilateralism or in the middle of trade war by superpower. Sometimes the middle power have difficulties to exist. But I think if all the middle power try to regroup each other, start to work together, maybe they can start to wait a little bit more around the world. I think we have to invent a new business community and around the world. And the old economic organization is a little bit behind us. And I hope we can create this new business community. And you can be sure that we will be very active at the FKCCI, and we'll try to play our role at our level to cherish this new connection and this new club.
Sure, absolutely, and it's great to see more potential. You know, the disadvantages gives you a little bit more of a strive to keep going forward. Well, today we talked about the past, the present, and the future of Korea-France economic cooperation with Chairman David-Pierre Jalicon. Thank you very much once again for joining us.
Merci beaucoup.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Feel free to join us on social media, where we'd love to answer your questions and concerns about Korea's economy. And we'll see you next time, same place on The Chamber. Thank you again. That was a lot of fun.